if you could please publish the verdict.
The state of Florida versus Sarah Boone. The verdict. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of murder in the second degree.
It's over! It's over! It's over! It's finished! It's all over! It's over! It's over! It's over! It's over!
Welcome back. Alrighty, we are here. It's happened. It is officially over. Kind of. The biggest part of it is officially over. It is official. Sarah Catherine Paulsen.
He's escaping! The killer is escaping! Help me!
Has been found guilty of second-degree murder. If these last few days of trial have shown me anything or reinstilled anything in my beliefs, it's calling her Sarah Catherine Paulsen her birth name, because she does not deserve to taint any more people's lives.
He's escaping!
Wow, I did not think it could get even worse than it already was. I thought we already knew the worst that there was, ish. You know, I didn't think we would see those text messages and those videos that just, wow, they are a lot, and they will get their own separate video. This is just going to be a quick one coming on here to react to it because it's happened. It's happened 4.5 years later, and it's finally happened. We are here. The verdict is known. It cannot be undone. I mean, she can try to appeal it, but we're there. It's finally over. Kraynick did it. He pushed us all the way through and got us to verdict. Thank you, Honorable Judge Michael Kraynick. You were amazing, incredible, someone that people should aspire to. This is who I want judges to be around the country. That's a high bar, but great job all around, especially dealing with one of the most annoying clients in history. And I say annoying intentionally. She's not overly dangerous. She's not overly whatever. She is just annoying beyond comprehension. I don't even think she can comprehend her own traits and demands and things that she forces on other people. Whatever. Those will be broken down in different videos. This video is just a quick little reaction to the actual verdict. I can't believe we're finally here. 1 hour and a half, less than an hour and a half it took for this jury to come back with a guilty verdict. That is so fast. That is so fast. And I heard they had dinner. They had dinner, had time to go over the evidence, come up with the decision, and said, we are going to leave. Because I believe the court gave them until 10 p.m. to deliberate if they wanted to, and then they can come back on Monday and continue deliberations. However, they said, nope, smooth no. Smooth no, we want to go home. We want to go home right now. So let's get this verdict going. They were probably eating for at least 45 minutes because now they could finally talk about the case, and they're like, we just have to let out some grievances, talk about it. The bailiff came in and he said, we don't do drink refills. And they said, what? He said, we do have this cucumber infused water complimentary. Can we talk about that? Why they always offer that complimentary lemon water? It better be complimentary. I dare you to charge me a dime for that nasty food waste water. I'm sorry, how did we get here? Anyway, see, this is what happens when I get some muscle relaxers. We got to get back on topic. They wrapped up their meal. They looked at the evidence. They said, all right, let's go. Wow. I mean, and they didn't even eat that long. Like I said, they were eating dinner. They could have come back even earlier, because it was clear as day. And this kind of reminds me of the ending of Harry Potter. Spoiler for the few nerds who don't know about it yet, or the TERFs who just don't want people talking about it. Anyway, my biggest gripe with the movies is how it ended, because that's what I really loved about the ending of the books is when Voldemort is finally killed. In the movies, they made it seem like he just, disappeared, disintegrated as this mythic evil force, yada, yada, yada. But in the books, he just died. Healed over, boom, face plant or back plant. Can't remember which direction. Boom. But the point was, he was just a human. He was nothing more than everyone else around him. And I loved that ending. And this is the same thing. 4.5 years later, she tried to make it over tens and dozens of letters to the judge, talking about people, attacking others, manipulating as many people as possible, trying to make this case seem infinitely more confusing than it is, making it seem like this is the most difficult, complex, nuanced case that has ever existed, and it never was. And that's why this came down so quickly. I am so happy, one, for this result. Obviously it was kind of assumed, but there's that little chance that she could have swayed just enough people to get away with it. There's always that little chance, so you can't just fully just believe in something. But I fully just believed in this because this was just absurd. The videos on her phone, the fact that she told them to look at the videos on her phone of him smashing the TV, and then we see the video and it's like, okay, the pictures made it look very scary. I'm sorry, this is a different video. We're not going there. But some of those videos were just very, very hard to watch. And I'm so glad it all came back around. Full circle. She had ways out. Just like her literal situation, she was in a violent, abusive, toxic, substance abusing relationship. And she could have gotten out at so many points. Yes, she wouldn't have gotten out unscathed, and yes, she did suffer some things under that relationship, but similar to that plea deal, she could have gotten out and gone on with her life. And what did she do? She thought about herself first and turned it all away. I bet you wish you would have taken that plea deal now. Honestly, I don't think she would. I think even knowing this outcome, because she did know the outcome, right? You know, she knew deep down. But if she 100% factually knew this outcome was happening, she still wouldn't have taken the plea. Because that means she would have to admit to herself that she actually killed him intentionally with a depraved heart. Even though she was just pleading to a manslaughter charge, she knew that was the implication, that you are giving up because you know you will be found guilty of this. She could not take that within her, and she had to push forward. I'm so glad she did. It just shows over 4.5 years she made absolutely zero progress as a human, zero evolution, zero development. It was the same exact person who refused to call 911 and called Brian to see if he can come help her out of this. Same people here, except she called and complained and got Mr. Owens to be her legal surrogate father and to come in and try to save the day. And I mean, look, for a 1.5-month defense, he did what he could. It wasn't a complete embarrassment. It was very embarrassing. I mean, yesterday was an absolute embarrassment. But the defense in total, I'd give a C. Based off of what they had, I'd give a C. I don't know what more they could have done that would have changed the outcome. I don't think they could have done anything, but they at least didn't make it look like she floundered on her ass. Of course, it would have been delicious to see the artist formerly known as Miss Boone Esquire flounder all across the courtroom, truly revealing who she is every time someone on the stand says something that she doesn't like. But no. She complained and she complained and she gave the worst behavior possible, and to reward her, they gave her 3 free attorneys with over a century of legal experience between them, as well as 2 little Paulsenettes to help rein her in and answer any questions that are kind of irrelevant and have nothing to do with anything. We all knew this would happen to Mr. Owens. We tried to warn you. He didn't want to listen, you know. It is what it is. He can now take this life experience and move on. I know he 100% will not be dealing with her appeal. Absolutely not. I know he wanted to bow out of this trial after she refused to take the plea. I honestly believe that was why he really wanted to get in there, to, iron out the details about the plea, convince her, because everyone thinks that they could convince her, right? Because she seems rational on the outside. And then you talk to her and you're like, oh, this is an immovable brick wall that I can't communicate with. I mean, now it is a guilty, immovable brick wall that you can't communicate with unless you have permission by the jail. But trying to convert that, or trying to get that kind of mentality to accept the reality of what they have done, is nearly impossible. That's why there are the shouting matches that happen in the jail, that the officers had to break into the debrief room on 2 different times, telling y'all to quiet down, and he had to take the blame both times. Oh, isn't that interesting that people always have to take the blames for blow-ups that happened with Sarah? Almost like that last video that the prosecution played, where she was literally coaching him on how to drop the case against her. And that video is too upsetting to me to play in this video, but we will cover it. Trust and believe we will get there. So, with that said, let's dive right into the verdict and just see it unfold officially. We finally made it, so let's get into it.
Second. We are on the record in case number 2020 CF 2603, State of Florida versus Sarah Boone. State, let me get your appearance for the record.
Chief Castro on behalf of the state. William Jacob State.
Defense.
James Owens for Ms. Boone. Kevin Beck for Sarah Boone. Mr. Henderson's not going to be here.
Okay, all right. Ms. Boone is seated at counsel's table, wearing the same clothing from this morning. Yes, Mr. Beck.
The judge, they've got her in chains, and they've got her in the ankle handcuffs, so she can't go anywhere.
Sure can't. Sure can't. Yes, she is back in chains. Yes, she is back in handcuffs. Yes, she is chained underneath. Why? Because all that special treatment is gone. You were given all this special treatment so that the jury would not be biased against you. The jury is gone. They've deliberated. They brought the verdict back. And now all of that is gone. I love it. I wish they would have changed her back into her prison uniform before bringing her back. But, you get to spend the day there. And of course, they're going to complain about that. Nope. Sorry. No more special treatment anymore.
I'm just asking, we would like to rise during the jury coming in. I'm asking if there's any way we can take off the handcuffs and the waist chain so that the jury wouldn't see it in case there's something wrong with the verdict form, or there's an issue, which sometimes happens, but that's my position.
Okay. I've been advised by the sheriff that during the reading of the verdict, due to Miss Boone's status as an inmate, their leg irons and the cuffs are to be attached.
Yeah, because in what world are you going to unshackle an inmate right before they hear the news whether they're going to spend the rest of their lives in prison or not? No. Again, I get it. You've been trying to paint her as this helpless little victim who's not dangerous at all. All the evidence shows she is aggressive, violent, and dangerous. She should have had her ass changed up this whole trial anyway. But no, this is just her trying to exhibit one last ounce of control. She does this every chance she has. It's the same thing with at the end of the interrogation when she asked, I can't even smoke a cigarette before I go.
I just got those.
Okay. They are not allowed in the jail.
So I can't even smoke cigarettes when I go.
I have not
So
found
what am I going to do with my purse? Oh, sorry.
Your purse is going to come, but the cigarettes and stuff can't, so.
Because she feels entitled to special treatment. She knows people don't get to just smoke cigarettes before they go to jail. She knows inmates aren't supposed to be unchained before they hear the verdict. But she believes she is above that, and that she deserves that request to be granted. And why should she be confused? Why should she not ask for it, since all of her other requests were granted for so long? But it's finally over. I love it when the legal system switches up like that. It's the same thing that happens in interrogations when they pretend to be nice with you, let you run the conversation for a while, and then it switches and says, okay, but let's remind you why you're here. because you've been sitting at that table without handcuffs, without restraints, being able to write copious amounts of notes, being able to play legal team with all of your little NPCs beside you, and now that switch up is gone. You are now to be reminded that you are an inmate for the rest of your natural born life. I know that's not official yet, but after seeing all that evidence, I would be shocked if you get anything less than life or a life equivalent. If they give you 50 years, 50 to 60 years, I consider that as an equivalent. But I love it. I know this isn't Mr. Owens asking. This is her, berating him to ask. And he's like, we are at the very end. Let me go ahead. I've asked for makeup. I asked for makeup and a hairstylist for this woman. I can ask for her to get her chains released one last time so she can hear a no from the judge and we can finally be done.
She's going to stay seated.
That's fine.
Mr. Beck's going to stay seated.
I would ask for us all to remain seated, and could you remind everybody in the gallery that there should be no emotional reactions?
I was just about to address that, sir. Thank you very much. All right, members of the jury, my understanding, or members of the gallery, good evening. My understanding is that the jury in this matter has reached a verdict. I don't know what it's going to be until it's read. If you are unable to contain yourself emotionally and you're going to react in any way, be it in joy or in sadness, I'm going to ask you politely to excuse yourself at this time.
I definitely would have had to be one of the ones to step out of there because I definitely would not be able to control my excitement over the verdict once I heard it. I would have to be like one of those families outside of American Idol auditions waiting for her to come out with a ticket to Hollywood, except it's a ticket to prison.
You're going to
Prison.
You're going to
Prison.
You're going to
Prison.
You're going to
Prison.
You're going to
Prison.
You're going to
Prison.
Both of you are going
Prison. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. You passed your audition. You passed your audition to prison. Because that's what this was. She put on her best case to say, please accept me to the prison organization. This has been the only thing since my straight A's in high school that I've really excelled at. And I'm going to be the best second-degree murder suspect there ever has been. This will go down as a textbook definition of depraved heart second-degree murder. This is it. In a nutshell, all around from all sides, all interpretations. And I feel bad that George's mom had to leave when they played the tape during closing, which I knew was going to happen. They should have warned her. They really should have. Multiple people should have warned her. People should have said, you shouldn't watch closing arguments and then maybe come back afterwards. Or they should have given her a heads up before they press play, because I remember hearing in an interview before any of this started, maybe even years ago at this point, that she hadn't seen the video and that she intentionally avoided seeing the video as long as possible. So for the first time, she got to hear her son's final words and Sarah's final responses to him. And that's honestly probably was the worst part. She's probably heard that he was calling her name, asking to be let out. That's not hard to imagine. What is hard to imagine is her tone, how vitriolic she was when cursing at him and laughing at him as he was dying. That would be incredibly hard to hear. So I'm glad she was able to leave. I understand not being able to be in that room without having an emotional reaction. Sometimes it is just what it is, and you need to know for yourself whether you can be in that room or not, because you don't want them to have any kind of appellate issues of maybe there's this humongous outburst and then they poll the jury and there was one juror who felt like they were forced to saying yes. And then they can be like, oh, it's a mistrial, everything was forced, now there was this outburst, yada, yada, yada. You still wouldn't get it, but you just don't want to risk it.
There cannot be any emotional outbursts when the verdict is read. Does everybody understand that? I see everybody nodding their heads. Okay. All right, State, are we ready to bring in our jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense, are we ready to bring in our jury?
Yes, Judge.
All right, let's go ahead and bring in our jury. Everyone will remain seated.
Can you imagine that tone shift as a jury member? This entire trial for almost 2 weeks, every time you walk in and out of a room, they have been standing up waiting for you. And then the last time you walk in, they are all seated and eyes averted. Because, yeah, you never want to look at the jury because then you'll figure it out, I guess. So, or maybe you do want to look at the jury. But I just know they avoided their eye contact, understandably. But I like it. It makes everything feel more dramatic.
State, do you recognize our jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense, do you recognize our jury?
Yes, sir.
Members of the jury, you may be seated. Thank you. Members of our jury, good evening. I understand that you've come to a verdict in this case.
Yes.
If you could please hand the verdict form.
Oh, they all said yes. Normally, it's just like the foreperson will say yes, but they all said, sure did. Sure did come to a verdict. Yes, we did.
Form to the deputy, please. Thank you, sir.
I may not always be able to count on my credit score. I may not always be able to count on my overdraft protection. I might not always be able to count on that one cousin that shall remain nameless who owes me $50 from last Christmas, but I can always count on Shady Cameraman to zoom right in, right when we need him to. Thank you. Zoom right in, right when it needs to happen. Because even though we can't see the front of her face, I want to see all of it. I want to see how she's breathing. No. Sorry, I got to stop. When I start to get mean, when I can sense it coming, I got to stop.
Madam Clerk, if you could please publish the verdict.
In the Circuit Court of the Ninth Judicial Circuit in Orange County, Florida, case number 2020 CF 2603, the state of Florida versus Sarah Boone. The verdict. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of murder in the second degree.
Bon appetit.
As charged in the information. So say we all, dated at Orlando, Orange County, Florida, on this 25th day of October 2024. The form has been signed by the foreperson.
And there it is. I was going to try to zoom in and show the slight differences, but I don't know how to do that. Who has time to figure that out? But what I did notice is that her breathing did increase a little bit, as is absolutely natural, right? It would be crazy if it didn't. But even though she is putting on this stoic face, which good for her, I'm honestly shocked that she didn't fully crack during this whole trial. I mean, she's had 4.5 years to kind of build this up, but yeah, you can still tell it took her by surprise. She actually thought they were going to hear what she had to say and say, oh yeah, absolutely not guilty. But this makes absolute perfect sense because that's what she's done this entire time. She's been able to tell her story, and because she's played the system, well, she thinks she's played the system correctly, even though she's just abused the system. So she thought she could do that one more time because it gave her this false sense of confidence that, oh, they actually believe me. No. And then once she got to see all of that body cam footage played back to back to back in her sober mind now, I know she can tell, oh, they never bought it. Ever. Not one time. That's a lie. But they saw through it enough times to where they were trying to warn George multiple times to stop going around her. Not even with anger or anything. It was leave her alone or else you keep getting put in the back of this cop car.
Look, man, she's gonna keep getting you in trouble. You gotta stop coming around her, right? Or no? You don't agree? That's up to you.
And this is why I was so glad that she rejected the plea deal. And it just looks so good because they offered her something that she could have only dreamed of compared to what she's about to get sentenced to. And now she's going to get a life sentence and be like, wait, whoa. Can I go back to that 15? What do I have to do to go back there? Nothing. Don't have to do anything at all. We already went through trial. Everyone got to go through all of the horrors of it and confront all of the hard feelings and the hard facts. We're done. Not a single plea deal on the table for you ever again. Goodbye.
Unanimously, you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Madam Clerk, please poll our jury.
Juror in seat number 1, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes, it is.
Juror in seat number 2, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes, it is.
Juror in seat number 3, is this your true
Yes,
and
it
correct
is.
verdict?
And
Juror in seat number 4, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes.
With 4 votes, you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Juror in seat number 5, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Juror in seat number 6, is this your true and correct verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Members of our jury, again, I want to thank you for your time, your sacrifice, and your attention in this matter. I know that we spent almost 2 weeks together, and it was not taken lightly, and I really appreciate the time and the effort and the sacrifice that you put into this case. I want to advise you now of your final instruction. Members, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank you for your time and your consideration in this case. I also wish to advise you of some very special privileges enjoyed by jurors. No juror can ever be required to talk about the discussions that occurred in the jury room except by court order. For many centuries, our society has relied upon juries for consideration of difficult cases. We have recognized for hundreds of years that a jury's deliberations, discussions, and votes should remain their private affair as long as they wish it. Therefore, the law gives you a unique privilege not to speak about the jury's work. Although you are at liberty to speak to anyone about your deliberations, you are also at liberty to refuse to speak to anyone. A request to discuss either your verdict or your deliberations may come from those who are simply curious, from those who might seek to find fault with you, from the media, from the attorneys, or elsewhere. It will be up to you to decide whether to preserve your privacy as a juror. With that, members of the jury, again, I thank you for your service. I'm going to ask you to return to the deliberation room. I'll be back there shortly with your jury certificates, and thank you.
Yeah, that's basically, do you want a book deal or not? That is up to you. Do you want your ABC exclusive interview or not? I absolutely would, especially for this case. I mean, ring it for all it's worth. Get all the money you can off of her name, off of that face, off of those split ends, off of that chop and screw. I don't even know what you call the back of that head. It's just depressed. It's pressed and depressed. I've never seen depression encapsulated in a hair. You know what I mean? I didn't catch myself this time. Oh well, it's not my fault. She zipped him in a suitcase, so she can rot for all I care. I am so glad that she was found guilty. We all had a feeling that this was going to happen, but of course you don't 100% know. It's just reinstilling some faith in humanity to be able to see through lies and clear deception and just depravity. I mean, whoever chose that word hit the nail on the head. It just, that encapsulates everything about this crime. But you could see when they were reading off one by one, she had those lips curled back. She wanted to say some things. At one point, she like jerked her head away, looked like she got hit with that one. I mean, that third juror said yes, like could not jump fast enough to say, yes, this is my verdict. I said, let her rot. I said, send her back now. I said, keep the pink cuffs on. That was me. But what I will say, from what I can hear, the jury was mostly women. So she can't complain on that front. And it sounded like, I thought I only heard one male voice, or discernibly male voice. And they polled the jury, for anyone who doesn't know, just to make sure that everyone's vote is what they say it is, and that you didn't get bullied into just saying yes. And so if they go through and everyone says yes, 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 and then one person says no, then they send them back and they have to keep deliberating until they come to a unanimous decision. It is just one of those, okay, you yelled at me. I said yes because I just felt pressured. But now that you're telling me, like asking me point blank, this is not my decision. Which doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. So that's why you poll.
Ms. Boone, the jury has spoken in this matter and has found you guilty of murder in the second degree. The court adjudicates you guilty of murder in the second degree.
Yeah, double homicide. Bitch. No, I'm sorry.
As this is your first felony conviction, you are entitled to a pre-sentencing investigation by the Department of Corrections. Mr. Owens, are you seeking that in this case?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is fine. A pre-sentencing investigation is what they do to see if there are any mitigating or aggravating factors when making that decision. So they'll look at your criminal history, personal history, mental health, physical history. They'll look at the victim impact statements when those are delivered in court on sentencing day. So even then, those victim impact statements will be a part of this whole pre-sentencing investigation. They do risk assessment, like what is your probability of recidivism or reoffending, and then they'll look at sentencing recommendations based off of whoever performs that investigation. They're not bound by that. So someone could come back and be like, oh, we would give her the minimum of 22.5. He says, thank you so much, life. And then that would be life. And this normally happens for more serious crimes. You'll rarely see a pre-sentencing investigation for just a minor... I was going to say they don't do it for more minor crimes, but Plain said that they did and that they pulled her over when they were running the traffic light one time. Who thought there'd be a red light in the sky? That's not her fault. So they didn't do a pre-sentencing investigation for her, and that's why she's able to fly. Speaking of someone who can't fly, Miss Paulsen. She will definitely get one because of the severity of this crime. You'll notice Lori DeVallo, she had one, but she didn't submit her mental health. She didn't do a screening for that, so the judge couldn't consider that. I don't think it would have changed anything, but it was clear by her presentation throughout the trial that something is happening up there, and it could have helped her out more than harmed her. Normally, this isn't always offered if you are just a habitual offender and they're just like, okay, there's no point. If she were arrested all the times she should have been arrested, she might not even be offered that. That's a lie, but still. The fact that she has no felony conviction does not mean she wasn't arrested and charged for a felony, and it doesn't mean she shouldn't have been charged for more felonies. Yeah, I don't know what mitigating factors she could have, because the trial talked way too much about her being a narcissist and trying to use that to defend it. Oh, she just has narcissistic traits. Everyone on the stand agreed. Every professional said she exhibited multiple narcissistic traits. They did not give a definition of narcissism. However, I would never have brought that up. Why even bring that up? I don't think I've ever seen or heard of narcissism being a mitigating factor. You've seen other personality disorders be mitigating factors like BPD because of the fundamental way those alter people's entire mental states, ability to rationalize things, and just overwhelmed or underwhelmed with emotion to where they can't quite comprehend in that moment the actions they took. However, narcissism isn't that. It's just this tendency to put yourself first. Not just a tendency. All the traits are rooted in a deep insecurity that encourage you to put your own needs and self-perceptions above everyone's around you, or at least make that the center of people's attention, orbit, world, what have you. That's not necessarily a mitigating factor, because during all of this, people with NPD do have more control over their actions and do have a higher understanding of what will happen after taking these actions. For some other personality disorders, it is very much could be a fog of right now they have no idea what they're doing and they're just reacting off of emotion, or they're reacting off of other mental health conditions or physical traumas, PTSD, what have you, versus someone who just has these very terrible traits and refuses to acknowledge and can stop them at any time if they want it. And that's nuanced, right? And like, I'm not saying that any person with narcissism can just snap their fingers and be better, but it's saying out of the list of mental health conditions, that is one that is given the least amount of leeway and understanding when it comes to people who suffer with their mental conditions. Anyway, she has plenty of aggravating factors, and the more they dig into her history, the less it is going to look good for her. But you're getting one anyway. Good for you. Maybe you won't get life. Maybe you'll get 60 years.
State, I will order the Department of Corrections to prepare the pre-sentencing investigation. State, for the purposes of sentencing, do you anticipate eliciting any testimony from, be it the victim's family?
2 or 3 victim impact statements, sir.
Okay. Mr. Owens, do you plan on presenting any evidence during the course of the sentencing hearing, sir?
Probably some testimony from Dr. Harper.
Okay. All right.
Testimony from Dr. Harper. You're going to put your expert witness as your final, like, allocution or character witness testimony thingamajig? That's interesting. And kind of sad, you know, like, that means she doesn't have anyone in her life, not friends, not family, that can come in and try to speak on her behalf. I mean, even Daryl Brooks's mom showed up and tried to say something for him, which I can't blame her, right? It's her child. She knew what was going to happen. We all did, but she said something. And I know she doesn't have a lot of family. And just so people know, because I see some comments in, I see this a lot in the comments of Sarah does not have a lot of family that is left alive. By her own account, she does not have parents, grandmothers, aunts, uncles. So it is a very sad existence in that sense. And that's why I believe she picks fights with whole ass families multiple times and felt so strongly about George's and upset that they didn't accept her like she wanted them to. But she still does have a brother in the Marines. She has another brother in jail who he'll probably be out before she will. But no one else, not a friend, not other closer relationships, just Dr. Harper. The person who's seen her 9 times is going to be her last defense to get leniency. Can't say she didn't bring it on herself.
How long do you think, State, that you would need?
You mean timing-wise, or are we thinking?
A quantum of time, sir. Yeah, well, normally it takes about 30 days or so. I'm confirming with Anita as to availability. I just want to know from your side of the ledger, how much time? Okay, 15 minutes. How much time do you think you're going to need to produce anything from your side of the ledger, sir? Mr. Owens.
I'd say 30 minutes.
Okay.
30 to 45.
So if we set this for an hour, that would be sufficient.
Parties agree.
Okay.
State agrees.
Is that sufficient, Mr. Owens?
Yes.
Okay, all right, give me a moment. We can set this matter for 1:30 in the afternoon for sentencing on December 2. State, is that acceptable? It's a Monday.
I have status here, but I'll make it work.
I can move it to later if necessary.
I'm co-counsel on it.
Okay, defense.
You know what it is?
Yes, sir.
That's Monday, December 2 at 1:30.
Yes, sir.
I can be here.
Ma'am, you've been adjudicated guilty. I now remand you into the custody of the Orange County Jail pending sentencing on December 2 at 1:30.
And those are members of George's family. Obviously, I mean, we all know this and we go through this and we talk about this, that this doesn't provide absolute closure, but it does give you a step forward. It gives you an ability to either open a new door or close an old door. And you at least get to see the person who murdered your family member has to take some form of accountability. It's never going to be true justice, but it's the best we can do for now.
State, anything else we need to address?
Not from the state.
Defense. All right, thank you very much. We're off the record.
And that's the verdict. After all this time, finally, ding dong, the witch is jailed. It's just so funny. Like, you know, in this moment, she is wishing more than anything she took that plea. But also, like I said before, she probably doesn't, because I think she believes that she can win the appeal. She believes that she can say, oh, this took 4.5 years. I was abused. I had nothing but terrible lawyers and no one wanted to help me, and the judges were big bad bullies, and they try to make me represent myself. It's so bad, so poor me, woe is me, yada yada yada, and it's still gonna fall flat. Absolutely. Why? Because Judge Kraynick is a genius and has the patience of Job, because he withstood everything. He pushed this to trial. I'm so glad that he set this date. I know we all thought at first, wow, this is really quick. You sure there's not going to be another continuance? Because it would have been drawn out again and again. And what was the reason for it being drawn out? This was not a complex case. They wrapped it up in 6 days of testimony, pretty much. And then it was over. And the guilty verdict came back in an hour and a half, under an hour and a half. Most college courses are longer than that. So you could take a test in college and you would have finished probably later than this jury finished making this decision. Oop, I love this officer so much. She said, put that down. You have no more privileges. You will be locked in these handcuffs for a good while, and they're going to fingerprint her before they take her back in. Because I think the last time she was fingerprinted, actually probably not, but in my mind, the last time she was fingerprinted was when she was booked. And so now that you are convicted, officially, she's officially convicted. She has her first conviction. Boom. She doesn't have sentencing, but there we go. So when she wanted to complain, I was never convicted. Now you were. And all of it is going to just, this is it. This is who you are now. Inmate number, blah, 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 blah. I'm sure you're going to tell us when you finally start writing letters. Again, good Lord. I can't wait to be done with this officially. You know, we have sentencing on December 2nd, so we will be back. Miss Sarah's saga is not quite yet complete, but we're almost there. I still have plenty of videos that I need to circle back on that because I've been dealing with an injury lately. I had just to put a lot of stuff on hold. So I will definitely be going back through there. Look at her. This is the last time she's going to wear normal clothes. At least the last time she wore normal clothes were those pants and jeans or whatever. At least anything is better than that is an emotion shirt and those hot pink shorts, which she wore those pink shorts in almost every body cam footage. I'm like, girl, leave Baby Gap alone. Look at her. They gave her her special folder back. I love this officer. She's one of my favorites for sure. And now they closed the door on her. That's it. The door has been closed. She has no more chances to try to prove her false innocence. So yeah, I'll be going back and doing all those videos and direct testimonies, opening statements from Mr. Owens, closing statements from Mr. Owens, closing arguments from Mr. J. Miss Sarah's testimony. I haven't even touched on that. Miss Sarah's cross-examination, the witness testimony. So there's a lot of loose ends I need to tie up with this case. But once I get all of those out, we are officially shutting the book on Miss Sarah Catherine Paulsen, the artist formerly known as Miss Boone Esquire, and we will be moving on. I'm so excited to move on to a new case after this. I understand this case is what started this channel, but this is not a Sarah channel. This is not going to be the sole content that is produced here. We're just getting started still. So I'm excited to see how things developed, and I can't wait to move on to the next one. I have some ideas of the next one that I'm going to cover officially. I'll keep that under wraps for now. But in between that time, I might do little one-offs of reacting to something that I just find interesting here and interesting there, versus then when we get into our next big deep dive. Because this is still just a side passion project for me, this might be more of an immersive channel, as in I could only do one case at a time. So thank you all for following me on this case. It's been a roller coaster. Many of us, it has been a 4.5-year roller coaster, finally making it to this day when this verdict was finally handed down. And now her fans from all across the world can put some money on her books because she will need it, especially after this alimony gets taken away. So now they get to circle back in divorce court where Brian filed to get rid of alimony or heavily reduce it so he doesn't have to pay her. Because he wasn't paying her. And she was like, how dare you? You need to pay me. He said, you're a murderer. Swerve. And I would do that too. I'd be like, take me to court. The judge is going to have to force me to give you that back pay. Otherwise, who cares? And people are like, well, she has the right to that. Well, George has the right to live, right? So I don't really care that someone's doing something quote unquote illegal against her by not giving her free money she never earned. And that was another thing that annoyed me so much in all these videos when she would when she had financial hold over him, holding his birth certificate and important information so he can't cash a check, controlling his finances, threatening to take away a trip to go visit his family in Philadelphia after buying the tickets. And she makes it sound like, oh, I don't do this for people. I bought you this, I bought you that. No, you didn't. Brian bought all of that. You have done nothing. You have had no job for 2 years before this all finally happened. Maybe if you had a job, this wouldn't have happened because you wouldn't be able to be drunk all day long and get into some fuck shit like this. Maybe. That's the lesson for all of us. Get a job or employ yourself. Find something to do besides murdering your spouse. Let's try that. That's going to be our 2025 resolution. No more murdering spouses when we could have been at work. Oh, that's so dumb. We laugh to keep from crying, but it is what it is. So I'm very happy for George. Hopefully, you know, his memory can finally be rehabilitated in some sense because, you know, we all wanted to snap judgment of he hit her, he's the worst piece of shit ever. And now we see the videos and it's like, he hit her and that's all? No. No. I'm done. But it's like, he hit her, yes, but he was under constant and never ending like emotional abuse, verbal altercations. He said so many times that she just overwhelms him. He said, you overwhelm me sometimes. I can't keep up. I can't take it. So it's not like she was this innocent victim just sitting there on the couch, nothing happens, and then wham. Because every video we see that she took, she felt so confident filming her alleged abuser in front of him and then correcting him, being like, are you treating me nice? Sorry, again, I did this in the beginning. That's a whole other video. We're gonna get there, I promise. But yeah, so I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. Thank you for all the support. Thank you to the members, the royalty out there. Thank you for anyone who sent emails. I do enjoy looking at them, even though I can't always respond to them, but thank you all so much. The support is what keeps me going. So if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, comment, subscribe, dislike if you're feeling it. Until next time.
Thank you all for watching this here video. Please like and subscribe and follow.
Prosecutor said that your story was lie after lie after lie. That's what they told the jury.
Yes.
You just made it up.
Yes.